The law can be either individual, personal, belonging to both men and women in their own ways, and also relying upon their inward significance, internal compass, and inner transparency, and also on the basis of the kind of virtues, values, standards they are able to maintain. That could be their law, or the law could be social, political, and based on very rigorous measures. It could be authoritarian, controlling, enslaving, and subjugating in itself. That is definitely used to bring both men and women into submission, to tame their individuality, to suppress their personal standards and virtues and defiance, to cut them off from everything, to curtail their self knowledge, and to basically force them to basically live a life of very standardized ideals, to live a life or an existence of mediocrity, stupidity, monotony, pretense, and ignorance. That is what the modern law has already become all about. It just controls, subjugates, authorizes both men and women that they have to do certain things without which they cannot live. They cannot really practice or execute any individuality, authenticity, truthfulness in society. They just are basically the subjects of reason, or the rule of law itself is something which is reasonable and not really passionate. If there is emotion, passion, impulse in the rule of law itself, then it can neither provide the righteous, authentic, fair ones with justice, purpose, meaning, nor can it possibly remain a fair negotiator and peace moderator between good and evil. And that's why it's mandatory that law is reasonable, is basically necessary, that law is dictated, controlled by principles and reason and authenticity all the time, and that it is divorced from passion and drive and impulse, that it remains removed and disconnected from impulse driven behavior, from aggression, ego, arrogance, anyways. Because when the law becomes dominated, overwhelmed by the emotions of the human nature, by the various impulses, passions, and drives that we generally experience within ourselves, that are consistently at war against each other, then that distorts law itself, that destroys the rule of law, and it becomes a slop garbage. It targets anyone and everyone and punishes them for walking on the streets, for driving cars, for being individual, authentic, and defiant. It punishes them, puts them behind bars. But that is what the modern law has become, basically impulsive, passionate, arrogant in every step of the way. Just as the modern men and women can be found in a state of intoxication, the rule of law is now similar to all that in one or another, even though we are not really all that, but the rule of law is worse than us. But we also do bad things, we get punished. So it's a lot of things